Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 4th of May, 2016. You're listening to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. All of you who were just listening to the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, thank you so much for coming over. And I'm going to, in a few minutes, I'm going to tell everyone about just an awesome tribute to Ken's daughter, Sharnice, that occurred. And it's just touching and amazing, and a fitting tribute to an exceptional young lady. This evening, Clint is off. He's on a secret mission, and I'm not going to say it has something to do with trying transgender bathrooms, but I'm not going to shy away from that as well. So use your own imagination. But fortunately, I was able to dig up the second best newsman in the business to sit in for Sackhead Clint this evening. Of course, I'm speaking of Dan Butcher from High Plains Pundit. Dan, thank you so much, sir. Awesome. Awesome. It's actually good to know. And, one of the things that I love about you, Danny, is it's a total family affair. Obviously, your eldest daughter is becoming very much a part of High Plains Pundit and news and politics in the country and the well-being of the country are a major part of your family. I just think that's amazing. I salute you for that. Oh, Lord. Well, I was gonna say Hatfield McCoy something. I was thinking something. I couldn't know it. Well, I appreciate you being here. I know I, I know you've been on a technical hiatus, and I appreciate you stepping out for all of us here at SHR Media and stepping up. And you know, a lot of people are starting to catch wind, but you and I and Ken and the underground professor and some other folks are going to be together real soon here in Texas, just next week. And I'm looking forward to that. And you want to tell everyone what's going on? Days in Texas. Oh. Right. Yeah. Y- Yes. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah, no, it definitely is an interesting what's the word I'm looking for? Exchange is going to be the best way to put it. It's going to be an interesting exchange as to exactly how everything goes down. And I'll tell you what, it's oh yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, to say the very, very least. Uh, right. Yeah, I don't. Well, like I said, I'm just there to cover it as a reporter. I'm not there to get into a fight. Yeah. Oh, well, and you know what? I made the mistake, Ken. Yeah, Ken, Dan. I sent a shirt a little bit early to Ken, and he opened it before I was ready for him to. But he says he's not going to wear it, and the shirt itself says "White Lives Don't Matter." So I'm kind of. I was a little bit early. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, and you know, we that was one of his biggest concerns was, which was the funniest part. So we had this conference call to set all this up last week, and out of everything, and Dan's like, "Oh, we have to watch out for this, and there could be protests." But over and over and over again, Ken just, well, I don't have to go to Cowboy Stadium, right? Can I wear my Chiefs gear? Can I do this? Can I do that? Or Skins gear, not Chiefs, Skins. Yeah, I just, that's all the concern was. Oh, man. Oh. Go Sox, baby. Well, I think this is a news show that you two should you two should embark on. All right. So I wanted to get I wanted to get out of the way. Oh yeah. On the air too. Yes, I am. Dan, I know you've been away from electronics all day, so I'm going to spring this on you. I hope you haven't seen it. The biggest news of the week took place yesterday, as you know. And it took over social media. It was everywhere. Everyone knew what happened yesterday. It was no surprise. But I want to tell you, Caitlyn Bruce Jenner will be posing nude in nothing but her medals and his flag on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Your response, Dan Butcher. Yes. Yes. Right. More of a Brucey than a Caitlyn. Yes. Yes. It's our hey, It's our own version of the crying game. I'm just concerned as to where he's going to be hanging the medals from. That's my biggest worry. Shall I go on? Yes. 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 They won't. Right. Well, I think the argument. I think that they will let him maintain it, um, and only because, and I don't know what I did here. I don't know what I did. I did something, um, and they're only because he was Bruce at the time that the medals were won. I listen. This is just yes. Hey, well, yeah, I was gonna say. Yep. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, and attack the first. Ugh. Yeah, and well, you know what? I'll even just because I'm a good sport for this, and I'll be happy to mediate because I get a kick out of this sort of thing. I'll put out the call in line 916-282-9806 916-282-9806. The other the the other strange thing is it's funny how the sports world is going out of its way to all of a sudden embrace uh, uh, the transgender thing. I mean, look at ESPN attacking Kurt Schilling over a personal belief, and if anyone who doesn't realize, Kurt Schilling's a very spiritual, conservative guy, um, firing him, and now Sports Illustrated with this whole Caitlyn Jenner. Obviously, ESPN last year giving her the female athlete of the year, even though it's a dude. Um, Listen, I'm with you in a lot of it. I don't care what two grown people do behind closed doors in their house. It's nobody else's business. As long as everyone's involved is okay with it. It's not for me to judge. I really believe that. Um, I kind of put it back to only God can judge. Like, hey, they're not committing a crime, so it's not up to society to judge per se. But at the end of the day, when you're marching out and you were Bruce Jenner, and all of a sudden you have a set of knockers and you're on TV, and they're showing videos of you used to be a guy, and all of a sudden you're a female, and my kid looks at me and goes, "Well, what's that all about?" Um, I have to, I have to fake a stroke and fall onto the floor and have the medics come and take me away just to get out and answer the question. Because what do you say to a 5-year-old? What do you say to a 5-year-old? Oh, well, he had boobs put on. He's going to cut off his penis and become a woman. Well, why? Oh shit! Why didn't you ask me the formula for cold fusion? I had a better shot at it than I have one now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I can't explain why, but we are so in everybody else's face right now with our personal business, and look how great I am, and blah 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 blah, that we are losing the respect of people to their own privacy. And I mean this. Listen, I've said this before. It disgusts me when I go to a restaurant with my family and there's heterosexual couples that are practically making love at the table while I'm trying to eat dinner. It disgusts me because it's public decency. You're supposed to act a certain way in public, and you're supposed to be respectful of the people around you. And we've lost that by and large in this nation. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me. 30 seconds. Okay. No. What? Back with the editor in chief of High Plains Pundit, Dan Butcher, right here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Stick around. We will be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. I really appreciate your time with us this evening. Dan Butcher, the amazing editor-in-chief of High Plains Pundit, is filling in for Sackhead Clint, who is on special assignment. And by special assignment, I mean I don't know where the hell he is. So it was really funny at the break. I got a couple text messages from people. And Dan, I don't know, as a host, like, I always get crap during my day-to-day life for not being able to multitask. And you can attest to this. Once I'm doing one thing, I don't really have a tendency to stray too far at that point. It takes me a while to get my brain going around it because I get task focused. But when I'm on the show once a week, I think is when I burn out all of my multitasking ability. And here's why. I have the Google Hangouts, the live stream going. There's a chat over there. There's not much going on there because nobody knows it's there. We haven't really pushed it, but I still have to go back and forth and check it. I have our chat at shrmedia.com. Click live chat. You can listen to the show and then chat as well. I'm answering texts. I'm answering Facebook messages. I'm also trying to run the board. I burn it all out in the 2 hours that I sit here. And now everybody thinks that I've locked Clint in the bunker with Sacco, and then I have them both secured somewhere. I want to know when I became the jerk on this show. Every chance I get. Every chance I get. Okay. Yes. Yes. 3-0. Agador and I bet you if we watch those replays, you will see Agador and I both shedding tears. And I'm the first one to admit I cried. Bloody sock. Bloody sock, Kurt Schilling. Okay. Yes. Oh, yes. 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 Strong. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely disgraceful. They're doing a target assassination, trying to erase history of a man who had one of the biggest games ever pitched as far as playoff for the Red Sox. And I say for the Red Sox because I'm not going to say it was the biggest game ever pitched. You're talking about a man who had literally trainer table surgery 6 hours before the game. And he came out and pitched 7 strong. And when I say strong, it was the most vintage Curt Schilling that you had seen in probably 2 years. He was pounding the strike zone with fastballs. His breaking balls were hitting the edge, and he's always a competitor. Curt Schilling was always a competitor. Even when he had his worst stuff, he was a competitor. But he had that look in his eye when he went out there, and it really was just astounding. It was a game that even Major League Baseball itself still says, one of the most intriguing games to watch as a fan, and I would agree. I don't care if you're a Red Sox fan or not. It summed up who he was as a competitor when he was on the field, and just the grit that he maintains as a person. You had Curt Schilling come out a week and a half ago, post an anti-transgender bathroom statement on Facebook. ESPN not only fires him, which, by the way, if you listen to Sunday Night Baseball now, there's like 3 people that anchor it, and one of them's a female that nobody knows who the hell she was, but all of a sudden she's a baseball commentator, a color person, which I think was just strange. But they erase him from that. They say nothing about it publicly for the most part, other than he's no longer with the organization due to a Facebook statement. They can't even stay up and be like, hey, you know what? Our politics are different, and we won't tolerate that in our sort of business. And if you are at all a conservative and believe that, you need not apply. At least have the stones to say it. But they dump Curt. And then on the 30 for 30 segment, 4 days in October, like you said, 16 minutes of that segment, 1 hour show, was dedicated to the Bloody Sock game, Game 6. For sports fans and Red Sox fans, and anyone who's really a fan of baseball, it was a historical part of the game. Now, mind you, the Red Sox won that game and then won the next game. And because of Curt Schilling's performance in that game, they were able to move on and eventually win the World Series. Everyone forgets that after the series in New York, they actually played the Cardinals and swept them 4-0. But everyone still thinks that was for somehow the World Series was magically between 2 American League teams that year. And it kind of was. And ESPN has no respect for the personal beliefs of its employees. You either swallow the poison or the Kool-Aid, depending on which way you want to look at it, rank and file march and shut your mouth, or they're going to fire you. Look at what they did to Stephen A. Smith. Everyone forgets Stephen A. Smith, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that comes out of his mouth, but he is a very outspoken man. And he said a lot of things that are controversial, especially when it comes to race relations in this country, et cetera, et cetera. And much like Shaquille O'Neal, going against the grain of what is common and popular in mass media right now, and called a lot of people out on their BS. And they did the same thing. Stephen A. Smith used to co-host shows, and now he's at best a 3 to 4 minute color commentator here and there. They attack who they disagree with personally and destroy their careers. Not that Curt Schilling needs the money, per se, but the simple fact of the matter is he was a pretty decent commentator. And to have his insight in the game of baseball, just like with a lot of the former athletes who fill that color commentator role, as a sports fan, when you are watching that, it's very insightful to have somebody who has been on that field explaining to you what is going on. And it wasn't a performance issue. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. It's one of those things, in most private sector jobs, if you have somebody who is not playing along with what's going on the team, doesn't matter what it is, you have to do some performance issues. You have to do this, that, and the other thing. Now, it's ESPN can fire whoever they want. And I don't know if it was in his contract that if you say anything that we deem negative, we can let you go at any time. I haven't seen Curt Schilling's contract. But what it says to you is just like everywhere else in mainstream media, even the sports. I mean, you look at what different the NHL is doing to reach out to everybody to try to get them to show up, but they'll bury everything about concussions that they possibly can. And not even that I care, because I think if you sign up to play the game, that's an unfortunate injury and byproduct, but it's part of the game, and you've known that getting into it. But they're kowtowing to all these different little micro groups to try to save face for reasons I cannot explain, other than to push the agenda of these groups and gain popularity with them. And you're going to hammer a guy like Curt Schilling, who raises money and lends his name to so many beautiful organizations to raise money for veterans. He raises money for sick children. He raises money for the Lou Gehrig Foundation. He does a lot of fundraising. He's a man of God. He's a born again Christian, I believe, and he uses his wealth and his namesake for wonderful things. But none of that matters if they disagree. If they disagree with you, you can be one of the most generous people on the face of the planet. They're going to cut you the hell out because of that one belief that differs. Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And never will. Yep. Yep. SHR Media. Yes. Yes. Well, and the other thing that I keep pushing too is the argument is that they want equal rights. And as you see time go on more and more, you see they don't want equal rights. They want special rights, different rights, rights that makes them different and above everybody else. And that's where I have to draw the line. Equal rights, absolutely. Special rights, no. We talk about it on the show when you have hate crimes because somebody's a specific nationality or gender or whatever. If you assault that person with knowledge of it, you get charged with a hate crime. Well, why is that? Why is that any different? Why not just up the basic assault for everybody? Why can't everybody? Well, because we want to persuade people from attack. Well, you're not going to teach morals at that point. Once that person decides that they're going to hurt somebody else based on their race, religion, and or gender something, then that horse is out the barn. What they should have done is when they were children, their parents should have taught them how to have some respect. And even if you disagree with somebody else, it doesn't mean you have the right to attack them either professionally, personally, physically, or otherwise. And that could be ESPN could learn from that right now. Sports Illustrated could learn from that, but specifically ESPN could learn from that with what's going on with Curt Schilling. And like you said, this is the tip of the iceberg. And you know what they did with this? They took one of the most prominent postseason pitchers, a man who was a workhorse, and especially in New York, Philadelphia, and Arizona, who is recognized for what he did in those cities, and they made him the scapegoat. They made him, like you said, the devil in front of everybody, in front of the whole world. They turned around and they said, hey, you know what? Curt Schilling is an evil bigot. So much so that we're going to pull him from the air. We've had some other broadcasters say some batshit crazy things on the air live and maintain their jobs. But in this case, Curt Schilling's done. And anyone else who works for our organization that dares try to step up, you can get in the unemployment line with Curt Schilling. Now, again, Curt Schilling doesn't need the money, but that's not the point. The point is he was hired because they believed he could do a good job. I believe he was doing a good job, and then they attacked him for something that is honestly a spiritual belief. I believe in his mind, and almost, and that's when you start getting. Wait a minute, is that an attack on his First Amendment rights, freedom of religion? Because he is a born again Christian, and that goes against his religion. And you have to respect his religion. Hell, we have schools that are mandating that we give prayer time to Muslims. We have job things that if people can't work on Sunday because of spiritual beliefs, you have to give them the day off, et cetera, et cetera. Why can't that be accepted as part of his protection of religious freedoms? Who? Who? I don't who are any of these people that you're talking about? I have no idea who they are. Yes. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what you have Huma for. That's what you have Huma for. Well, and Dan, as you're starting to talk about this and breach into the next segment a little bit, I'm reading down the list of people in the chat room, and I'm almost imagining the looks on each individual one's face as you say different names of different politicians. Are you saying you're a trans candidate? You're a Trumpster. Yeah, all that and more. And we're going to talk about everything, including somebody who got the message everyone else got months ago. All that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. If you're listening, you're not in the chat room, shrmedia.com, click live chat. Also follow us on Facebook, Sackheads Radio. We're on Twitter at Sackheads and some more. Back in a minute here with Dan Butcher, the editor-in-chief of High Plains Pundit. Oh, and there's a special guest in line when we get back. Be right back. And we are back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. My guest host this evening is the amazing Dan the Man Butcher from High Plains Pundit. He is not the second best newsman in the business for nothing, folks. And let me tell you that right now. And on the line, do I still have our caller on the line who wants to talk about Curt Schilling's bloody sock? Yes. Hi, Dominique. Unfortunately, yeah, I bet you do. Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling. No, no, that's his name. His name is Curt Schilling. You're not getting personal. No. he. I think you're confusing him. Oh no. Oh no. You were an eyewitness. Lustful Dominique, you were an eyewitness. Pray tell, what is your side of the story? Because part of me. Pray tell is your sister. I'm so sorry. I. My God, this hurts. How does this happen on my show? Dominique, trans foreskin? Yes. It's not easy to do that. Are Oh, okay. And I want to clear up two things. Dominique, I believe you're thinking about Caitlyn Jenner and not Curt Schilling. That's for starters. Number two, are you one of the Redskins fans that dresses in one of the dresses and wears the pig nose and the ladies' hats? Okay. Oh. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to square that away. An alleged eyewitness from the Bloody Sock incident back in 2004 in New York. Lustful Dominique. Yes. Oh no. It sure is. Oh. Go on. Uh, now, Dominique, I do have a follow-up question to that statement. If, like, say you were on a bus, and half the and you were getting on this bus, and let's say the front half of the bus was filled with Cowboys fans. Um, and obviously, because of your choice segregation, does that mean you'd automatically go and sit in the back of the bus? Oh, yeah, well, that seems to be your thing, huh? Yeah. I'm sorry, did you say foreskin? Oh, okay, uh-huh. I, I, I think I need the therapy. Yes, we can absolutely. I think a sports therapist would probably help. I think that I'm actually gonna need the one who's gonna need counseling here after this phone call. No, you don't. Why? How did this happen? How did we get to this? We were supposed to be covering the damn election. Oh, oh. Well, um, listen, Lustful Dominique, I appreciate you calling in and being as open as you are about who you are, and I think that's just special. Um, oh yeah, I, uh, uh, sorry, I, I wasn't trying to make a joke. I was just trying to thank you for being yourself. And listen, listen, we do have a segment we need to get to that's non-gay Redskin related. Um, uh, so if you have anything else you'd like to add, now is the time before we move on. I have another caller calling in here shortly to discuss politics, and it would be rude if I were to cut them off. Jesus. Oh, no, no, yeah. Okay, thanks, Dominique, for that. I just, I don't even know. Oh, Secretary Clinton, do you have something to add? Okay. All right, barking like a dog. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. Oh man. Oh boy. I uh, it never ceases to amaze me, Dan. This is why I always get afraid when I open up the phone lines. Um, and it wasn't that Lustful Dominique was a bad guest. It just took us off on a tangent we weren't quite expecting when I saw the number pop up. Um, oh man, now I'm gonna. Oh, oh, oh man. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. I was expecting in a few minutes only because of the subject, the comments in the chat room. Oh, I want so bad to answer all of the questions you're asking. However, I don't know if I have the stomach for some of them. Um, I think the best I I think the best question was, what was that? And I think that kind of summed it right up. Um, uh, Positional player questions, lustful Dominique rules. It goes on and on. So I appreciate lustful Dominique coming on and being so open. Um, uh, I was there something that happened politically, Dan? Rescue us, please, damn it. I no, no. Uh-huh. Yes. How are we going to segue this? Mm-hmm. Yes. Can I just say something about Mr. Livingston? Hold on, Dan. Dan, I just want to chime in for Mr. Livingston one moment, please, if I could, and only because I feel this needs to be said. It saddens me. My grandfathers were both and grandparents were both part of the Greatest Generation, and the numbers of World War II veterans and the Greatest Generation members, if you will, who are left is starting to dwindle greatly. And that's something that I want to make sure that people are teaching the younger generations. And I know there's a lot to teach these kids, and we've lost our way in what we're teaching the last couple of years. But the courage and the strength of not just those who served. Don't get me wrong, the veterans that served in World War II are bar none, far and away. But also the folks back home who stepped in, and you had Rosie the Riveters and all the female military members who shuttled planes back and forth across the country for service and deployment, ladies auxiliaries, the nurses that were in World War II, as well as just the average person here who, war bonds and cutting back on usage of electricity and everything else they could to save for the war effort. Mr. Livingston was part of that generation, and it's really, really sad to see him pass, but it's also a good way to bring up reminders about why that generation is so important to our country and how amazing they were. Yes. 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 Hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, well, I agree. Well, and it's part of the reason why I agree. It's part of the reasons why our leaders failing us is kind of why our election and our politics are who they are right now. And this is probably a good way to segue into that, um, and understand why the country is currently voting the way it is, and why some people are so bitter and angry with leadership, both elected and party, which are two different things. And I want to welcome the exceptional conservative Ken McClinton to the line, and I'm hopefully he can add some insight on this. And we're going to burn off the last break at the bottom of the hour, because I know we're going to get hot and heavy into this subject, and I don't want anything to screw that up. So Ken, thank you for joining us. I I know, I understand, and I want to apologize. However, under the new law, I'm forced to take transgender calls first, I believe. Um, so I just I oh well, uh, as I've been told, as I have been told. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, hey, Ken, I do want to take a minute to recognize something that happened in your life that is so important to you, if I may, if that's okay. Um, the Newhouse School established the Shanice Milton Award for Excellence in Community Journalism in memory of your beautiful daughter, Shanice. Um, and I read all the articles, and I looked at all your posts. How amazing is that for you and your beautiful wife, who we love dearly? Yes. Mm. Yes. Mm, coward. I, I can't add anything intelligent other than, as always, our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. And Charnice brought so much good to this world. And obviously, those involved and responsible need to be brought to justice. And that's something that you have taken on the forefront with open heart, closed case, and just in your daily work and who you've become this champion of those who don't have a voice, and not just in the DC area, but throughout the country, of trying to give those who were taken a voice and trying to solve these crimes to bring their families closure and bring closures to the victims themselves. And I applaud you for it. We all do. We all think you guys are just absolutely beautiful and amazing people. What you've been able to do, um, and make such a positive out of something that would have destroyed many families, and it's made you guys just closer and more unbelievable than you were when I've met you 4 years ago. And I always thought you were an unbelievable human being. And it makes it that much better. And it is an honor and a privilege to know you. And you have our love and support however we can. Now, and we love you too, buddy. Hmm. Yeah. And with that being said, let's get on to the GOP. Oh yes. You know what? On Wednesday night you will learn. Um a week from tonight you will know. Absolutely amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh. Oh, can you imagine if we went if you can you imagine if we went unchaperoned? Oh, we'd never make the convention. It would just be it'd be pandemonium. Uh all right. Well, let's get into the election here. Last 30 minutes or so. What I expected to waste about an hour on this segment, and we got it down to 30 minutes. Congratulations to us. Um, yes, nailed it, nailed it. Uh, Senator Ted Cruz drops from the race last night after losing in Indiana. Pretty substantial loss too. Immediate reaction, I think, was shock and awe through many in the media and GOP. I honestly thought he would hold on to the convention. I know there was talks that the campaign wasn't money financially wasn't as sound off as they had hoped to be, and uh, it really kind of sent a shock to the election. Dan, your reaction first. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rubio. Yeah. Interesting. I go ahead. Go ahead, Ken, please. Yes. Agreed. Yep. Nope. Nope. I well, and first, I have to disagree with you about Cruz and Trump working together. With because I think they're both a task oriented person, and I think they could put their um, personal differences aside in order to come to a pretty good selection. I think they balance each other well too. And I think they both have enough strong, strong enough constitution internally in order to get the job done. That being said, I agree with Ted Cruz would be an outstanding Supreme Court justice. I, and it's hard because I said earlier today on River Common Sense with Jersey Joe, I said, it's hard to see which way he could go because another couple of years and he could learn from the mistakes that I think he made in this election. I think he made mistakes. I'll be the first one to say it. I think the speech that Cruz gave last night as he was suspending his campaign is the Ted Cruz that many of us who followed his rise know and love. Um, and I do think he's an amazing senator and an amazing person. But I don't think we saw that enough while he was on the campaign trail. And I think there was too much of the advisors telling him how to act and speak versus him just being himself, which is what people enjoy and feel attracted to. And I think that's what hurt him more than everything else. He tried to out Trump a couple times as far as the argument and the name calling, and that backfired on him. And he was never really able to get back to who he was, which was the person who gave a completely powerful and amazing speech last night before suspending his campaign. It was filled of patriotism. It was filled with honor and dignity, and he was also very, very humble. And I think if you saw that Ted Cruz this entire time, it would have been a different election. I truly believe that. But what you saw, and I pointed out in an article I wrote today, is you saw a Ted Cruz who may have been cozying up a little bit with the old school GOP to try to get some deals done. He had some GOP advisors who were kind of pointing him in a certain direction. and it showed extremely transparent to a lot of people. And once word got out that there may be a contested convention, that was the beginning of the end, because people were not going to sit there and allow their choice, whether you agree or disagree, to be hijacked just like the Democrats do in their party. And, and by the way, I don't mention Kasich because I don't think he's worth mentioning. He found out today he dropped out of the race. The rest of us found out 8 months ago. There was a great picture online with Kasich with his hands up, and he was like, "Cool, Cruz dropped out of the race. I guess I'm going to be president." Like, there's just how oblivious he is to reality. I know that Kasich was serving a role on one way or the other. And depending on how you want to look at it, it was funny at the beginning. Everyone thought Kasich was a GOP plant to keep people from Trump. And then as time's gone on, everyone's like, well, maybe he was a Trump plant to keep people from the GOP. There's no real, we'll probably never know what the answer was. But the answer or the outcome is we now have the eventual nominee, unless something changes dramatically, and Donald Trump. He's starting to look at VP selections. You said somebody from the South. A lot of names come up. I know Nikki Haley said that she's not at all interested. She released a statement today saying she wasn't interested. But you also have to look at some folks who were in the election. Bobby Jindal. And I think that's an amazing name to throw. I think that really gets you a lot of places. Really conservative guy from the South. It helps you out quite a bit. So there's, and the other person who's out there is somebody who endorsed Trump very, very early, in Sarah Palin. And she may say, we always hear people say, "I'll never do that again." I don't care about that. When the right opportunity arises, you're going to do it again. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. The biggest problem, guys, that I think we have right now is you have the never Trump people who are not going to support Donald Trump, that are Republicans. Is there enough independents and or others and Democrats who are coming over perhaps to fill that gap? I don't know. I know libertarians are putting out all over the place that registration of the Libertarian Party doubled today. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah. Come on. They had 4 candidates this year. And listen, I have no ill will against the libertarians whatsoever. I've been saying for a long time that that's a part of the party that our candidates need to embrace more, and they don't do it. But now you have this never Trump mentality going up against the never Hillary mentality. Gentlemen, you've both watched and been part of politics for a long time. Ken, I want you to go first. What is your prediction, and what do you think Trump would do? No, Black came. Hey, Ken, Black came up on my roulette wheel. That's the only thing. Black came up on the roulette wheel. What can Donald Trump win the never Trump people over, and if so, how? Hmm. Right. Well, and I didn't hear I read briefly on the interview. I didn't hear what he was talking about. As far as, was he raising it like we've had in the past, small percentages just to kind of stay the cost of living, or was he going for the $15 an hour? And I can't speak intelligently to that. I had not heard it. No, no, no. I understand that, but I mean, supporting something and instilling something are two different things. Um, and I don't, like I said, I don't agree with it. If he truly is a $15 an hour Seattleite, then yeah, I have a seriously hard time with that. And as I've said before, this is when you need to make sure that even if you don't like Donald Trump, that who you elect to Congress is a outstanding individual that would block something like that. And that's something that you've been focused on for years on your show, is the congressional races and how important it is, and how big the legislative branch is in our government. And we often forget that. We think they're just a group of people that argue, um, versus they're the ones that put the bills on the desk. And if it's not on his desk, he can't sign it. So you got to focus on that. Dan, your thoughts? Right. I agree. Hmm. Yeah, Bill Clinton really sucked. I think she's too smart right now. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He is our candidate. 8 minutes earlier, he wouldn't have taken a leak on Trump if he was on fire. Yep. Kasich. Yep. I think I said in talking to you and Joe last night on the special we did, and I wrote in my article. I thought I wrote my article today. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast. He's going to get some affairs in order quick, so he can start while the Dems are still ripping themselves apart. He can start rebuilding a little bit with the party and trying to get some support where he may lack it. And the never Trump people. I saw an article today from I forget who it was from, but he essentially said, "Hey, just because you're not voting for Trump doesn't mean you're voting against Hillary," which is something that I said pretty much outright in my article. Is if you don't vote for Trump and you're a registered Republican, then you're kind of voting for Hillary, and maybe not giving her a tick in the populist vote, but what you're doing is giving her that much more distance to close and or overcome, depending on how it lines up. And we have 3 Supreme Court nominations that could last 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, that we need to consider. And do you really want to hear the words, "Ladies and gentlemen, President Hillary Rodham Clinton and first husband, William Jefferson Clinton"? Think about those words for a second. Let those words sink into your head before you make your decision. I think it's huge. Yeah, no, that would be the first chick. Um, yeah, that's the first side boo. Is it called a side boo, side chick, whatever they call it? Um, Wiener. I hope so. I hope so. Only at this point, I'm in it for I am absolutely in it for the hilarity at this point as well. And hey, listen, guys, we're losing Biden for the jokes, but if we pick up Trump for the show wise, anyhow, it could be a good thing. And listen, I will support the nominee, and I've said this time and again. Um, and I think we need to, because we need to keep Hillary Clinton from getting into office, because listen, she's the evil we know. We know she's evil. We know she let 4 people die in Benghazi. We have speculations on Donald Trump, and yes, we have some history of him as not elected official. But at the end of the day, I said to somebody today, it's quite possible that in the middle of the night, a year and a half ago, he had a come to Jesus moment. He's not changing who Donald Trump is on the public forefront, but that doesn't mean that in his heart may be different. And it's something that we have to watch for. And I could be wrong. But I mean, I'd much rather give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt than Hillary Clinton. That's all I'm saying. If I was hanging, waiting to be cut down, I'd much rather have Trump standing near me with a knife than Hillary. Yep, give it back. Mm-hmm. Millions. Yes, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Gentlemen, we are out of time. The exceptional one, Ken McClinton, sir, thank you so much for calling and joining us for this segment. I want to throw out a special thank you to Lusty Dominique, who called in earlier to give us her insight. It was an unexpected but very appreciated call. Dan, the man butcher, sir, I look forward to seeing both you gentlemen next week. Dan, thank you so much for stepping in and joining me on such a last minute. And the work you guys both do is profound, and I appreciate it very much in the love and support you've given us here. And I look forward to spending a lot of time with you guys next week and really cutting it up in person and making a difference out there. So thank you. Love you guys. This is the Stackheads Radio Show. We'll be back next Wednesday where I will be broadcasting from Texas. Clint will be broadcasting from the studio just to make things even more screwed up for the Texas State GOP convention. Check us out on Facebook, social media. We're all over the place. Twitter at Sackheads. I'm at Edge of Liberty on Twitter. You can also Sackheads Show on Facebook, at Sackheads Radio on Facebook. You can just find us. Now, stick around. The last 5 minutes of the show, I'm running long, but it is going to be the newest conservative bite by the unpleasant blind guy called Now What? And here we go.